Tonight on The Roast, renewed calls for an Australian republic, asbestos scares during the NBN rollout, and Japan launches an ad campaign to get more people eating whale. Apparently eating endangered mammals that were harpooned just wasn't appealing anymore. In a rare moment of bipartisanship, opposition frontbencher Malcolm Turnbull and Treasurer Wayne Swan both advocated for Australia to become a republic during a book launch in Canberra today. Now, the book, entitled An Australian Republic, Why the Time Is Now, is a collection of essays with forewords written by Mr Swan and Mr Turnbull. But if they actually wanted people to buy that book, it wouldn't be a collection of essays. It'd just be one paragraph in support of a republic and then 376 pages of tasteful nudes. Still, Canberra's deficit delivery device, Mr Wayne Swan, made the bold pronouncement that the Labor Party will refocus its attention on the issue of the republic once the election is over. Particularly if Labor loses the election because, you've got to keep busy. And Malcolm Turnbull, the opposition's internet delivery device, said, "Every instinct and experience of referendums tells me that the best next chance is in the post-Elizabethan era." Sadly, the Elizabethan era was 1558 to 1603, so that ship might have sailed. But in terms of the current Queen Elizabeth, well, Mr Turnbull was just saying post-Elizabethan era because he was politely suggesting that we don't want to hurt the old woman's feelings. Let's just say our country might get what it wants when she's dead. But God, a world without Queen Elizabeth II, who'd be our head of state? Turnbull, you sneaky dog. And for more on the status of the currently alive Queen, let's cross now to our Republican reporter, Nick Richardson, who's outside Buckingham Palace. Nick, where are you?
I'm up a tree, Tom.
Oh, why?
I'm just watching the Queen. It's all part of my ongoing Republic Watch segment. When will she die? You see, after the failed 1999 Republic referendum, I've been waiting patiently for the Queen's death, just to make sure I'm ready to launch a successful Republic bid as soon as possible. She was playing croquet in the rain earlier, Tom, so we know she's reckless. And, oh my God, I think she's dead.
What?
Oh no, she's just having a nap. Oh. And Prince Charles is behind her. Oh my God, he has a knife! Oh no, he's just buttering her scones. Put poison in that butter? No. Oh my God, I think he
let's instead cross to Mark Humphries. Mark, how would becoming a republic affect our relationship with the UK?
Tom, we've been talking about becoming a republic for ages, and the response from the Crown has remained the same. Disinterested, bordering on unfeeling, silence. Look at us right now. We're on a Commonwealth government broadcaster talking about getting rid of the Queen, tantamount to treason. No one cares.
Well, maybe them not caring is their way of showing they care.
The Crown is not your imaginary girlfriend, Tom. Of course they don't care. We aren't in the era of Mel Gibson's The Patriot when having a collection of countries under regal power actually meant something. Maybe then they'd have cared. Maybe then they'd have thrown us into a rat-filled dungeon with a piece of cheese strapped to our junk. But no such luck nowadays. Do you know how republics are born, Tom?
Yeah, they're delivered by storks.
Under brutal dictatorships. People seeking an end to violence, desperate for a better way of life. There's no way Australia's going to get the republic it deserves unless it gets the bloodthirsty royal tyrant it needs.
OK, but Prince Charles and Prince William don't seem that bloodthirsty.
But
I guess William and Kate's baby...
The baby could be a real shit. Exactly, Tom. Our only hope is that they spawn a tyrant, someone who'll unite us under its tiny, adorable murder fist. Then, Republic ahoy.
Well, next up tonight, and Telstra is holding crisis talks with the federal government over claims its workers may have breached safety procedures and mishandled asbestos during the NBN rollout.
Serious safety breaches are believed to have occurred during the rollout of the national broadband network, with stop work orders issued at sites in 3 states after concerns Telstra subcontractors released asbestos fibres into residential areas. OK,
yeah, they might have released asbestos fibres, but they quickly contained them in this airtight asbestos net. So everything will be fine, just so long as residents in those neighbourhoods completely avoid all the asbestos and don't take any photos with the... no. And because this is a national broadband network, the asbestos problem and exposure to it could be enormous because asbestos cement pipes run telephone wires all across the country, something that led Workplace Relations Minister Bill Shorten to call for Telstra to set up a fund to compensate workers potentially exposed to the cancer-causing material. Telstra, on the other hand, has said they'd prefer to deal with the potential claims on a case-by-case basis rather than via a fund. But unless the rollout is handled within the Code of Practice for handling hazardous material, every employee or contractor will have a risk of contracting diseases that won't manifest for 20 or 40 years, meaning Telstra might have to deal with potential claims on a case-by-case, by-case basis. For more on the situation, we'll cross now to Clark Richards, who's been travelling with the teams that are laying down these wires in the asbestos-laden pits. Clark, how are things going with the NBN?
Well, Tom, the pressure is on. Telstra has to install the NBN for the whole of Australia. They're under the pump.
Yeah, so what have they been doing?
Oh, they're digging, Tom. They're digging up their old pits.
They've dug too deep. A great evil is being unleashed, an evil Australia had long forgotten, in pits filled with misery and asbestos.
But on the plus side, the infrastructure is already there, so it's going to be a lot quicker, which is what everyone wants.
Okay, but isn't there a concern that we're just trading the safety of these workers for the speed of the delivery?
That is what's happening, but I don't think there's a concern there. You see, Tom, we occupy a world that lives for immediacy. Instant coffee, 10-minute news shows, and 2-minute noodles. And even that's too long sometimes. We need fast internet for video streaming and cloud services and research, but
We've forgotten what we buried beneath the surface in the 70s.
besides, the effects of asbestosis will emerge 40 years down the track. Perhaps Telstra won't even be around by then. Perhaps none of us will.
Okay, sure, but wouldn't it be better to deal with the problem now instead of having to compensate victims in the future?
Oh, Telstra will deal with the problem, all right.
On a case-by-case basis. Watch this.
Things are happening at one of Australia's biggest brands. You asked for an NBN rollout that's fast, cheap and safe. And we heard most of that. We know you're worried about asbestos, but don't worry, it's only in these isolated areas. And the effects of asbestosis can take up to 40 years to appear, but the effects of blazing fast NBN speeds are just around the corner. The Telstra NBN rollout. It might shorten your life, but it will definitely shorten your download time. Telstra, it's how we connect.
That does sound better with music. Well, turning to our final story, and Japan's peak whaling body has launched a new campaign to promote the consumption of whale meat. That's because the Institute for Cetacean Research currently has around 5,000 tonnes of whale meat sitting unwanted in freezers around Japan. And thank God those murdered whales are unwanted, because it'd be a shame to ignore overwhelming international opinion for nothing. But faced with a younger generation that rarely, if ever, eat whale, Japan is hoping to revive sales by advertising whale meat's supposed health benefits.
味ってことですね。
生姜醤油でさっぱりといただくもよし、健康のバランスが気になる方にももってこいなんです。
Now, if your Japanese is a little rusty, that chart showed that compared to beef and pork, whales contain far more vitamin A and whale. And remember, the Japanese know what they're talking about because they research whales. I mean, all the time, with a giant harpoon. Specifically, Japan claims the whales it kills are used to estimate the population, resulting in fascinating findings like when you kill something, its population decreases. And part of researching is eating the thing that you research. That's why at Dove, they always eat soap for lunch. For more on this, let's cross now to our Tokyo correspondent, Rachel Corbett. Rachel.
Oh, Tom, I hope you don't mind. I'm just grabbing a spot of Japanese.
That's fine. Now, Rachel, you've been doing some research into this Japanese whaling authority. What have you found?
That they're delicious.
Oh, you're not eating whale.
No, the Japanese researchers.
Wait, you're reading the researchers?
No, Tom, I'm researching them through my mouth. Oh, God, that one's got a hair in it.
Rach, this is murder.
Oh, God, that is such a Western view of this situation, Tom. It's science done the Japanese way. How are you supposed to research something without killing it?
Oh, I don't know. How about a questionnaire?
Whales can't hold a pencil, Tom. In Japan, when you want to learn about something, you harpoon it.
Well, how do the conservationists feel about this?
Oh, they only worry if culling Japanese researchers proves to be unsustainable.
Okay, but Japan does have a declining birth rate.
Exactly, which is why we need to research them. They could all be gone soon. Then how will we know how many Japanese whaling researchers we can hunt sustainably?
Well, if it's not bad enough that the Japanese continue to eat whale, last week it emerged that whale meat was being sold in Japan as dog food, according to one animal rights group.
The most likely reason for shops to sell the whale meat dog treat is to target affluent Japanese who want to show off their wealth with something different.
And feeding a dog whale meat from a can is a much smarter idea than sending a dog out to hunt it themselves.
Living in the ocean, the whale is far better adapted to the environment.
and thus escapes its traditional canine predator with ease. If not for Japanese whalers, domestic dogs would never get to eat their natural prey and would die out.
And before we go tonight, let's cross back to Nick Richardson for the last of his ongoing segment, Republic Watch.
Oh my God, Tom, this is it. I think she's dead. The eyes are closed. The mouth is agape. This is it. I'm calling it. Time of death, 12:35. Time of Republic, now.
Nick, are you sure she's not just having a nap?
Oh no, she was just napping. And now she's awake. Now she's looking at me. Those guys in the hats have arrived. Now she's pointing at me. Hello, Your Majesty! Oh my God, Tom, you know what? Maybe she's not so bad after.
Well, that was a cracking shot, Your Majesty. Good night.